And it's in this prison. Paul writes Philippians, Paul writes Ephesians, Paul writes Colossians, and he writes Philemon. And so here's what the prison cell looks like. And I know that doesn't show you much because that's about all there was. It was in the dungeon downstairs. The only thing above it was this like iron pothole where they would remove and let lower water and food down to feed and give Paul something to drink. I want you to imagine being in that prison for 2 years. Moldy, dark. The only thing coming through is the light from the tunnel above. And as Paul is put there for the gospel, he writes, Paul and Timothy, servants of Christ Jesus. Then he goes on, he says, I thank my God every time I remember you. He's in prison now. In all my prayers for all of you, I always pray with joy because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. And this is my prayer, that your love may abound more and more in knowledge and depth of insight, so that you may be able to discern what is best and may be pure and blameless for the day of Christ, filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ to the glory and praise of God. Then he says, now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. As a result, it's become clear throughout the whole palace guard, everybody else in that prison, it had become clear that I'm in chains for Christ. But because of my chains, most of the brothers and sisters have become confident in the Lord and dare all the more to proclaim the gospel without fear. I eagerly expect and hope that I will in no way be ashamed, but will have sufficient courage so that now, as always, Christ will be exalted in my body, whether by life or by death. For to me, to live is Christ and to die is gain. The most happiest book in the Bible was written from that prison cell. And the moment I stopped reading it, Jessica goes, babe, look up. And look what we saw. We see a rainbow coming through that prison hole. And I want to use that to remind you what Paul said, that he is faithful to finish the work that he started. I don't know how we got the gospel today from that little prison cell, but I do want to remind you that you may be going through a prison in your own life right now. You may have circumstances that are not favorable. You may have things that did not work out, but I'm just here to remind you that in your darkest prison, God still has a purpose. He still has a plan, and He's greater than the darkness you're in because we have a God who is the light of the world.